So, what does it really mean to have a fully enlightened mind? In Buddhism, the answer isn't just some vague idea of knowing everything. No, it's actually this incredibly precise blueprint called the 10 Powers of a Buddha. And this isn't just a list of cool abilities, it's a detailed map of what ultimate wisdom actually looks like.
But right away, that brings up a massive question, doesn't it? How can our limited minds even begin to wrap our heads around a consciousness that knows all things? I mean, it seems totally impossible, and yet the ancient masters left us a key to start unlocking it.
And that key is hidden right here, in this single verse from the ancient Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. Now, I know, it might sound a little cryptic at first glance, but it lays out a perfect framework for us. It says self-nature and distinction, uncommon and also equal, activity and sequence, with difference being the last. These are the 7 aspects that we're going to use as our guide. Think of them as 7 keys to unlocking this whole system of the 10 powers.
Okay, first things first. Before we get into what the powers do, we really need to understand what they fundamentally are. And our first 2 keys, self-nature and distinction, are going to define their core substance and their absolutely incredible scope.
So the self-nature, or the very essence of all 10 of these powers, is actually just one thing: pure, unadulterated wisdom. See, these aren't 10 separate magic tricks or anything like that. They're all just different expressions of one single, unified, brilliant knowing. It's kind of like how pure white light can pass through a prism and create this whole beautiful spectrum of colors. It all comes from that one source. And that leads us right into our second key: distinction. This one defines the scope of that wisdom. And honestly, it's just immeasurable. We're talking about a wisdom that cuts across all of time, past, present, and future. It can penetrate every single type of phenomenon to understand its unique qualities. And it perceives every single living being in the universe, individually. The scale of it is it's completely mind-boggling. All right, so let's move on and see how this all builds, because here we run into a really fascinating paradox, and it's revealed in our third and fourth keys. These powers are somehow both exclusive and universal at the exact same time. So how does that work? Well, this lays out that paradox perfectly. On one hand, you have the uncommon aspect. This means the powers are the exclusive domain of fully enlightened Buddhas. They aren't shared with anyone else, no matter how advanced they might be. But then, on the other hand, they are equal. Every single Buddha who has ever existed or ever will exist possesses these 10 powers completely and identically. There's no Buddha with, 9.5 powers or one whose powers are a little stronger than another's. It's a universal gold standard for enlightenment. Okay, so we've looked at the core substance and the design principles. Now let's get practical. The 5th key, activity, shows us what these powers actually do. How does all this immense wisdom actually interact with the world in a really compassionate way? Let's just look at 3 examples of that activity. First, a Buddha can perfectly perceive that incredibly complex web of cause and effect, knowing exactly what action leads to what result with 0 confusion. Second, they can see right into the heart of every being, understanding their unique strengths, their weaknesses, their hidden talents. And third, they know every possible path in existence and can pinpoint the single most effective one to guide any specific person to freedom. And that's the whole point, right? This isn't just abstract knowledge, it's targeted, compassionate action designed to end suffering for good. All right, for the final piece of our puzzle, let's look at the mechanics of this system itself. Our last 2 keys, sequence and difference, are going to show us how these powers are acquired and how they function together as this perfectly integrated, seamless whole. This brings us to sequence. Now, you might think that at the moment of enlightenment, all 10 powers just fire off at once, but it's actually way more elegant than that. While they are all gained in a single instantaneous flash, they manifest in a very logical order. The very first power to arise is the one that knows cause and effect, because that establishes a correct foundational view of reality. Only after that do the other powers emerge, dynamically, exactly as they are needed for any given situation. And this final aspect, difference, is all about precision. It shows how the system has no wasted energy. Just take these 2 powers, for example. They sound pretty similar. The power of knowing cause and effect understands that action A leads to result B. Simple enough. But the power of knowing karma has a different job. It understands that the specific person who performs action A is the only one who will experience result B. It confirms personal responsibility. Each power has a totally distinct role, making sure there's no overlap, no redundancy, just perfect, efficient wisdom. So there we have it. We've just walked through all 7 aspects from that ancient blueprint. From the core substance of wisdom all the way to its practical, compassionate application, we now have a much clearer picture of this incredible cognitive architecture. And here it is, the complete blueprint laid out by our 7 keys. You have self-nature as the foundation of wisdom, distinction defining its immeasurable scope. That amazing paradox was being both uncommon and equal. The compassionate activity, the logical sequence of how it all unfolds, and finally the incredible precision shown by the difference between each function. Together they describe a state of being that is both completely all-knowing and perfectly compassionate. Which leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. This blueprint, it isn't just some abstract description of a faraway, impossible goal. It's presented as the ultimate potential that's already latent within consciousness itself. So, if this is the map of a fully enlightened mind, what does studying it tell us about the hidden depths and incredible possibilities waiting to be discovered inside our own?